welcome to another episode of Nights at the Round Table. It's your boy, man, Weezy, and this is Conversations with Friends. And today, I have my very lovely friend, Krystal Jenkins. Everybody give it up for her. You see how I added that? I'm like a freaking G with this button.
Professional. This is amazing.
If you don't know Krystal, I known Krystal since 2006, right? When she worked at my record label, Word Records, and that's how we became friends. So we go back some years. We do indeed. We go back a lot of relationships. We go back a lot of tears, a lot of cheers, a lot of beers,
a lot of things.
It's so amazing. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Yeah,
I'm off work. Yeah, I'm off work until the 4th, so I'm just enjoying the break and just couldn't be better. I can't complain.
And where are you coming from? Tell them.
I'm in Starkville, Mississippi.
Starkville, Mississippi.
Yeah, I work at Mississippi State University. That's what people will know, not necessarily the town name. So
it is it sounds like a magical place. It literally sounds like a town in one of the CW shows.
It's kind of like, I like to think of it as my Stars Hollow from Gilmore Girls.
Exactly, your Stars Hollow.
Yeah.
I love everything about that. I think I don't know if I could live in a small town, but sometimes I feel like I could.
You could not. We do not have a TJ Maxx.
The TJ Maxx home good. Oh my God. But I think I like the idea of you knowing, like, is it a small town like where you have a doctor and everyone knows the doctor?
We have enough. No, I mean, I would say, so the population is about 25,000 without the university and then another 25,000 with. So about 50,000 when we're all here at one time, which has been different this year. We haven't had everybody back, but.
So it's not that small.
It's not. No. It's not like, you're not talking about like Mayberry from Andy Griffith's show.
Right.
Small. It's not that small.
Okay, but now let's get into it because you used to live in North Carolina. Charlotte.
I did. I lived in Charlotte before I moved here.
A much bigger town.
I was there almost 3 years. Yes, a much larger.
And then you also lived in Nashville.
I lived in Nashville 11 years.
Okay, so the reason I'm bringing up all this chronological order is because you've gone from those big cities to this small city. And now, how much harder is it to find a guy? Be honest.
Okay, I'm going to be honest. It's equally as hard because I never had that great of luck in a large city.
Why?
So
Why you think?
I've dated more since I've been home than when I was in these larger cities.
Really? Do you think because the competition's down or something? I think a lot of that had to do with my own insecurities, though. I don't think it had anything to do with the ratio of male to female. Own insecurities, not because of the city, but because of where you were at in life?
Yes, like wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So it was like moving from Nashville. Okay, so moving from Starkville to Nashville and Nashville to Charlotte wasn't going to fix what was, it's like if it stinks everywhere you go, then you need to start looking at the bottom of your shoes. Like, sure. You know what I'm saying?
Wait, do you think those insecurities were the same in each city you traveled to? Or do you think there were a specific set of insecurities?
For sure.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So
for sure.
Have you been able to put a face on those insecurities?
Oh, yeah.
What were they?
You helped me put a face on a lot of them.
Really? Yay.
You alone. Yes, sir.
What were they called? What do you think it was?
Well, I had a huge fear of rejection. So a lot of the insecurity was just even putting myself out there at all. I was putting like the cart before the horse. So it was always like what was going to happen as opposed to just kind of riding the ride.
Right.
So it's like I would shut things down before it even started. I mean, there's probably instances where people approach me. I can't think of any, but I'm sure there were probably people around me that were like, yeah, that guy, it was interested in you and you didn't even notice it because you were so insecure with your own self. Like a lot of it was, there's no way anybody would like me because I'm not pretty and that's the one that I've battled the longest, I would say.
Where do you think it comes from?
Oh, childhood. I mean, was actually thinking about this today. So, I mean, when I was a child, like a lot of the boys, I mean, you're talking about third grade boys, okay?
Yeah.
Like, I would rather lick the bleachers than go out with her, like check yes or no. It was like a big no. And I think it had, I could blame those guys for it, but I think it's just my like innate disposition was to sort of internalize things that would naturally bounce off other people, so it's like somebody would say that to another girl with a different, disposition, and they'd be like, you can shut up. Like, you're the ugly one.
Yeah.
But instead I internalized it for almost 30 years. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So it's just one of the weirder things, and I still struggle with it, but it's certainly 1,000 times better than it used to be. So
do you think the struggle intensified or became more prominent in your mind, reinforced, I dare say, more from the voices in your head or the voices that you actually met when you were out? You know what I'm saying? Like, was it actual physical dudes that were like, no, no, no? Or was it more so the freaking choir of voices in your head that's like, you're not pretty, you stink?
Yeah. That's it.
Because I talked to a lot of girls.
Because then you hide. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, you just hide yourself away. And you either literally do that and become a recluse and stay at home all the time, or when you're out and around, you're never your true self, so nobody gets to see. It's like when I used to go shopping with my mom, and I hated shopping, hated it. And I would just have the worst like look on my face in the mirror when I would have on the clothes. And then I'd actually smile, and she'd be like, look how much prettier you are when you smile. And it's sort of that same thing of like, when you go out and you're insecure, nobody's going to notice you. So I wasted a lot of years with that.
I think I've dated some insecure women before, and I feel like it was kind of exhausting to keep them up, because it was so.
It's not your job.
I know, I at a long time I had a savior complex that I felt like I can totally fix these people that I'm with. It's my duty. It is my gentleman-like duty to make this girl believe that she's freaking amazing, or she's beautiful, or she's whatever. And then there was one in particular that I realized, oh my God, it doesn't matter what I say to this person, because I would compliment them all the time. I would be so loving towards them, and it felt like no matter what I said, the end result was always that they weren't enough. And that's when I knew, I was like, oh, I can't do this. I can't. And it was something that I've never really struggled with as far as insecurity goes. And I know that sounds like a freaking total like douchey thing to say. I've just always had this supreme confidence.
When you look like that, you don't have to.
No, man. When I was young, I had big teeth. I look a mess right now. If you're watching this on YouTube, I look a mess. But I just feel like, I don't know. You know how you said that there's certain people that don't internalize things? I never internalized anything. If somebody thought I wasn't cool, it was their problem, because I felt like I was just the shiz. Like, you didn't get cooler than me. And if you didn't think I was cool, I was like, there's something wrong with you. Like, because I'm freaking amazing. And I'm sure at some point it was, a little bit of vanity, and then it transitioned into just like utter self-belief. So this is one of them areas where I've spent a lot of time just trying to convince people and how great they are. Because to me, even though I was supremely confident, I never felt the need to try to shit on somebody and make sure that they stayed where they were at. I was that guy that once I hit about high school, I was very aware of the cool kids and the not cool kids, and I didn't want the cool kids to make fun of the non-cool kids. Like, that wasn't a good thing for me. Was I a thug and rob people? Yes. Did I want to be mean to people? No, which is a complete contradiction to my life. But there was something about that, because I understand, like, even what you're saying is these type of things last throughout a lifetime. And so I have this list that I always tell Krystal about. I have a list of people that I feel should be married by now, is because I think they're amazing people. So I think you're on that list 100%, because I'm like, okay, great. Granted, nobody's perfect, but there's so many amazing qualities about you that I feel like, oh, okay, I know a guy would be lucky if they found you. I say that all to say, in looking back and in you doing retrospective, healing, do you think you can point to a reason of why you may feel like I'm still single and this is why? Or do you think
the
it's
divine providence of the Lord?
It's because
I look back at the guys that I've liked. So here's the thing, thinking about your insecurities, you don't have any, but thinking about my insecurities.
I have some. No. I'm just saying they don't rule me. They can't, I don't, yeah.
I attached myself to people, the first person who paid me attention. Okay. So it's like, oh, this guy likes me, so I'm going to invest everything I have in him. Yeah. And then he leaves and I'm devastated for like a year. I mean, it's like this, it was every breakup I ever had was never just like, it was like a death, like a death of me. And I can look back now at all the guys who I'm still friends with, all but one. And I love you all, but it would have been awful. Those relationships would not have sustained the test of time. And so I'm at a place now to where I'm like, thank you, sweet Jesus. Yeah. For protecting me from that. Now that is a new place. So I think about a year and a half ago, I went to on-site therapy center in Nashville and worked through so much of this. And I'm so grateful for that week that I spent there. But because I hate to think that I would still be doing that, because what I realize now is that I get to choose. Like it's not always about the guy leaving. It's about me going, is this what's good for me, best for me? Yeah, he may like me, but that may not be what's best. As opposed to just like, oh, he likes me, so, here's everything. Oh, that's interesting.
So you feel like in that week, you realized that it wasn't just okay or enough for you to just take what's handed to you. It was more important that you decide what you're going to receive.
Right.
Something that
because I am worth enough to make the decision.
Yeah.
As opposed to being like, I'm just trash, and if you say that I'm good enough, then I'm just going to agree with you.
It's something that I always give advice.
Some of these guys were awful.
Yeah. How so? What do you mean? I want to know. I mean, I already know, but people want to know. I already know.
I mean, the one that was the hardest for me to deal with was the guy that I really actually did. So it should be said that I'm 38. I'll be 39 in like 2 months. Right. So I'm not like 29 years old. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like, it's not spring chicken days.
We're walked a mile or two.
You're
just
fully
to
ahead.
Be said.
Yeah.
But I guess about 4 years ago, I thought I was going to marry a guy. And again, I mean, no ill will towards him whatsoever. I'm so grateful for the journey that we went on. And I'm so thankful that he found somebody to be with. He's married now. But he did not treat me well. And I let him not treat me well. And what I mean by that is like, there was no caring. Like all my emotions and feelings and thoughts were irrelevant. He just thought that was just silly and that feelings were made up. So if you can imagine for an entire almost year of your life, thinking that every feeling you were feeling was like a fallacy. Like, oh, I don't really feel that way. Or I'm sad, or I'm upset, or I'm angry, and you can't express it because he laughs at you.
Eek. Wait, but this is a conversation that I have with my wife, which this is what I want to ask you, because I think feelings are valid, but I have a problem with feelings without reason. So like, if you say, Manny, I feel like you don't love me, and I say, oh my God, but why? And you're like, I just feel like you don't love me. That's going to piss me off. Because to me, I feel like that's a way of using feelings to manipulate. But if you say, Manny, I feel like you don't love me. And I say, oh my God, why? And you say, because when you say you're going to come home because you miss me, and then you get home and the first thing you do is ignore me, that feels like you don't love me. When you say you're going to call me back and then I don't hear from you for hours on at a time, I kind of feel like not important. When I say, hey babe, I really would love to do this, and you're like, nah, I'm good, and we end up always doing what you want to do, and not like always I'm just being exaggerated, but remember this time, remember I wanted to do this, and then we end up doing this, and then we want. So then you're like giving me actual examples where I can look at and be like, oh my God, I did do that. I need to fix that. That to me is a well thought out answer. And I know that that's very male thinking, but I kind of feel if you're a female and you're going to say something like, this person doesn't care, it's important enough for you to be able to say to yourself, this is why he didn't care. So I guess that's why when I asked you the question, what was the evidence that you realized, oh, I was not treated well?
Well, we lived about 2.5 hours away. And for the first 2 months, the honeymoon phase of any relationship, you see each other every other weekend. You put forth effort to make plans. So about 2 months in, that sort of stopped. And he would be busy on the weekends. And he would call less or text less and obviously all of that in real relationship, that does happen. It's like all of that, like the high of the, hormones and everything is going to settle back down after a while. So I'm not silly enough to think that lasts for 50 years, but, you know what I'm saying? It was like the effort was slowly dwindling. He never wanted to hold my hand in public. Very rarely even wanted to go out. Like he always wanted to stay in. Any sort of physical affection, even in private, was basically gone. It was just, there were a lot of things that I look back at now and wish that I had left when I started seeing it.
The red flag.
That was when I should have chosen myself and known my worth to go, this isn't working.
Yeah. Do you think you had do you think you were the type of person of a fix it person? Like I was fully a fix it person. Like I can fix it.
I'm an Enneagram 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm an 8.
I live for it.
Yeah.
Oh no, you're an 8.
I'm an 8. So I'm very I set a goal and I'm going to achieve that goal. It's done. So if I say
but saying that I'm a 2, you get it. I mean, you've seen my hospitality. You know how I will do anything for anybody. And if that's not kept in check, then you end up really a detriment to your own self.
What do you think made you ignore the red flags though? What was it?
I wanted to be wanted.
You just wanted to be wanted.
I wanted for people to know that I was worth loving. I wanted people to not think I was a lesbian.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's all these really stupid reasons, but at the time were very valid for me to be like, hey, guess what? This guy chose me. That means that I'm pretty enough.
Wow.
And I'm worth being around. So that was one of the hardest things about the breakup, was that I had to explain to people that we had broken up. And then people are like, why? And it's like, I don't know. I mean, now I know that he was obviously interested in someone else, but you know what I'm saying? Before I knew that, I was double checking myself. I don't know what's wrong.
Yeah. It's funny because I said that I didn't have insecurities, but let me go back and go to a year of insecurity, which was when I had my first breakup. And I think as you were talking, I think I realized why I didn't have insecurities. I was I don't know if you would consider this lucky. So I'm going to say this statement, but I'm going to preface it with, I don't think that this was best for me. I went through life without rejection. Okay. So it was whatever I wanted, I kind of got. I was lucky to always be the cool kid. I was lucky to always be the popular kid. I was lucky to have a resemblance of talent or good lookingness, none of which that I did for myself. My looks came from my parents, you know, my talent came from God. I didn't like develop these things. It's just, there's things that I was innately good at that landed me in the cool kid crowd. And it was something that was like, you know, cool, great. I get to be all these things. Then I realized, the entire time, like I'm understanding that, man, I have not been rejected. Like I've always gotten what I wanted. Fast forward to college. I meet this girl from Canada, hot as anything, right? Everybody on campus wanted her. I'm on my phase that a lot of us Christians go through, and we're like, I'm just dating Jesus. I'm just gonna date the Lord. So I was like, I'm done with relationships. I'm dating Jesus, you know, whatever. So this chick, I meet her. She wants to holler at me. So for like 2 weeks, she tries to get at me. Get at me. I'm like, no, I'm dating Jesus. I'm dating Jesus. One day I have a prayer time and I'm like, God, you know, should I date this girl? You know, I like her. She's awesome. And I felt like this release. I literally feel like I felt him say, it's okay. So I engage. We date for 2 days before she leaves.
Best 2 days of your life.
Best 2 days of my life. I remember it to this day. We got out of church. I'm driving down this little road, country road in Lakeland, Florida. It was fall and the leaves flew up, but like a commercial. I was in a convertible. The
Hallmark
leaves,
movie.
It
Hallmark
was just
movie.
awesome, right? And then she bounces. She leaves me. And I'm like, I am shattered. Because mind you, I'm 23, 24. And this is my first bout with rejection. One could say that and you hear it and you think, oh, this dude thinks he's the shiz, you know, like he's never been rejected. Oh, lucky you. I consider that a very big negative, because what happened, this grown man being rejected instantly reverted to the kid where I should have learned of what rejection was. I reverted to a 4-year-old kid. And when I say that, I was doing dumb things like, I remember she complimented my earrings. I never want to take these earrings out because I thought that if I kept these earrings in, she would see my earrings and be like, oh my God, that's why I like them.
Of course, that's why I like them. Yeah.
My sideburns. This was back when pork chop sideburns were the shit. I had pork chop sideburns. And I remember
you kept them for way too long because you thought she'd come back.
Because I thought she would come back because of my sideburns. There would be times where I'll be typing, working on school stuff, and I would just literally start crying and fall out of my chair onto the floor in a fetal position crying. This lasted 6 months. 6 months. We dated for 2 days.
2 days.
And I realized, it was 23 years of rejection that I should have been dealing with as a normal human being has hit me all at once at 23. Mm-hmm. And it literally rocked my world. And I felt insecure the entire time. It was just, what can I find about myself that would have been enough for that person to stay? And then when I realized her story, because she had like a crazy backstory of why she even ended up, certain loss in her family, just a really hard story before she came to school. And I realized, oh man, this was never about me. And I think that's the thing that we forget sometimes, that most of the decisions that people make, most of the time, have nothing to do with you. Sometimes they have everything to do with you. If you're the asshole, if you're the trick that cheated or that is abusive or that whatever, it's you. It's fully you. It's not the other person.
Right.
But most of the times in relationships, what we're dealing with is the overflow of other people's insecurities, lack of confidence, hurts, pains. Yeah. They're just overflowing onto us, and we are taking them as if they are now our problem. And I think that's one thing that I was blessed to, I guess, realize sooner than later. because it was a long time where I would just blame myself for stuff. I would take other people's blame of me and take it on. And then I started realizing I am not what these people say I am, or I'm not, the value in which they're putting on me is not, like, I should be treated better. And that's when I snapped out of it one day and I just refused. I went on from that day on. I was like, and I was probably like 24 years old, that I refused to let anyone's insecurity or anyone's opinion of me dictate how I'm going to view myself. You know, I wouldn't, especially if it came from a place of insecurity. There's something that I didn't want to continue to feed of their shadow side. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I don't know.
I mean, that's kind of, I feel like that was my moment at On-Site. Was, I don't know when it happened. It happened after I got back. And mind you, I had some rejection. So it's like, I got back, I went in May and had some rejection happen in November. And the process, it was a different sort of process to deal with it and to look at it through different lenses. But I dealt with it. And for the first time, it was like a really healthy thing. Because it wasn't, like you said, it wasn't about me. Like, you have to look at these people's lives and you have to look at your own life. I'm reading a book right now called Women Who Love Too Much. And basically the premise is, like, we are attracted to we're attracted to what we knew as a child. So if you grew up with always trying to overachieve, or always trying to be validated by your parents, or trying to get your dad's attention or your mom's attention, you're going to be attracted to those kinds of people in your future, because you know how to handle that situation, because you did it your whole life. So a lot of times that's why girls like bad boys, because they already know how to dance that dance. They don't know how to dance the dance with the nice guy. That's boring. And so it's like having retrained to go, having to retrain your life to go, you know, that just because that was how my childhood was, doesn't mean that that's how my life should be.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a great childhood. So, you know, but there were things. I was always trying to get my dad's attention, or always trying to be validated by my mom. And so, and be good enough for her. So I'm looking for that in men. You always hear about people with daddy issues and blah, 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 but it's more than that. It's more of just like your actual, like, family issues, the way your brothers and your sisters and your whatever. And you're definitely, usually, if you're not watching for it, going to be attracted to that same turmoil. Right. And I don't want to dance that dance anymore. That's, you know, like,
that's very ingenious to be able to see it. And I think, and the weird thing is that more people don't see it because you're not given the information or even the idea to look for these warning signs. Like, you don't know that you were raised a certain way. You just know that you were raised a certain way. Like, you don't think that it's actually going to affect you as an adult, but no. It's literally your formative years have created everything that you think as an adult. The adult years are just you throwing your ideologies against real life and seeing what actually works and what doesn't work. So you're thinking, I was raised like this, I was raised like this, I was raised to think that this is right. And then you go into the world and now you're not in your parents' house. Now you're not influenced by your family as much because you are out in the world by yourself. And now you're realizing that the world was not raised like you were raised. And some of the world was raised better than you were raised. Some was raised worse. So you're sitting here every day, you're encountering people and situations that force you to qualify whether or not your upbringing or your ideologies that you have built for yourself, are they true? Are they the best thing to think? Are they going to benefit you? And that's one thing that me and Ange always have conversations about it, because I know that she was raised a certain way, different than me. And a lot of that plays into our marriage. And I know that she does things out of repetition because, like you said, you've seen it done before, so you know how to deal with this way of being.
Yep.
And then I ask her though, but baby, have you ever asked yourself if this is the best way for you moving forward as a woman? Like, is this the best way? I know this is the way that you know, but is this the best way for you or for me? I had to ask myself that question on a lot of ways, like, because I always wanted to be right, you know, and it's not that I didn't want to be, I didn't mind being wrong, but I felt like being wrong meant that I wasn't as good as I thought I was. So it was something different than just being wrong, when I should just be able to be like, yeah, I was wrong in that.
It was putting a chink in your armor.
It was like,
what it was
yes,
doing.
like I had an idea of myself, and if you cause anything different than that idea to be true, then I'm feeling like, no. But now I'm kind of like, oh, I actually find solace in not being right all the time, because that gives me breathing room to make mistakes. I don't need to be right all the time.
That's maturity.
Right. Well, it took me a while to get there. I
was going to say, you're very rarely going to find that in a 21-year-old guy.
Correct.
Because he hasn't lived enough life.
We think we know everything. We think whatever. And even me getting married at 30, I still felt like I was very overzealous. I was very, I think I knew more than I did. And then as I live life with someone and I claim to want to be better for that person, then a lot of my ideologies have to take a back seat, at least for a moment, to consider somebody else.
You do. You both have to learn how to dance differently. Mm-hmm. And you've got to do it together. Or you're going to be, and I mean, I know that reference is overused and it's used in marriage books all the time, but it's just so true, because if you're not learning how to dance with each other, you're going to be stepping on each other's toes. And that's the most unenjoyable thing ever.
Yeah.
But it's a matter of both of you. And for me as a single person, it's been really great because I've been able to spend a lot of time with myself without having to also think about somebody else. So I'm not doing a dual thing. So it's like, if you wanted to start doing that right now, you're instantaneously going to have to start thinking about her too. And for me, I'm just learning my own self.
What is the difference though? Because you said, because I think we've had this conversation before where you're like, you're happy being single. And I remember I always had I had a big problem with that statement. I always thought people were lying more than they were ever. Like using the word, I'm happy single. I felt what you're really saying is, I'm okay enough with my life currently, but if I had the opportunity for my true love to come, I would ditch this life in a heartbeat. So saying that I'm happy being single, I always felt like that's a lie. Unless you're at the place in your life where you're like, I don't want my true love. I want to go out and screw as many people as I can, have as many wild, lustful situations happen as I can. If my person came right now, if she wasn't hot, I ain't got no time to deal with her. Because there's people that are fully okay with when they say they're happy being single, is because they're out there trying to do some damage. And that's the only thing that they want. But for most of us that are like hopeless romantics, or at least like the idea, you know, when they say I'm happy being single, to me, I'm like, let's say something more accurate. Let's say I am content.
I'm content in my current situation.
I am content in my current situation. It is not my ideal situation, but for the moment, I am appreciating every single thing that it's bringing me. Every lesson that I'm learning, I am appreciating, and I am soaking every moment of it up, because I don't think I'll ever get it back. Once I have to learn to dance with someone else, then all this attention that I'm giving myself has to kind of go on the back burner so that I can consider someone else before I consider me. So when I ask you, what's the difference between you, quote unquote, being happy single now and happy single then? Because we've had this conversation before. You said it before, but what do you think is the difference now than back then?
I don't think I might have lied to you and said I was happy single because I just felt like I had to be. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah.
I think there was a time where I felt like I had to be happy because that was what the hand I was dealt. Like, I wasn't going to wallow around in sorrow in public about it. But I mean, I'm not going to lie. There was a time in my life where I probably cried about it twice a week. Now, I very rarely think about it.
Right.
Now, mind you, I am crazy busy.
Right.
I mean, I have a full-time job. I also own a baking company. Like, I mean, I sleep in my free time and then I'm back up again. So, but I think then being single for me meant that I wasn't good enough. So being single, let's say post 35 years old. So anything before 35, I was single because I wasn't good enough, because I wasn't pretty enough. I wasn't thin enough. I wasn't fun enough. I didn't drink. Like, I had a list of reasons that I was single. I don't feel that way anymore. Like, I truly, truly feel like I'm single because it is literally the best thing for my life. And I can settle into that. You see what I'm saying? Like, my favorite book in life is The Attributes of God by A.W. Tozer. And it basically says that one of the chapters is that either God is omniscient or he's not.
Yeah.
So like, he either is or he isn't. And so what I've come to learn is that he is. And that means that because I am his, that I am where I need to be.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
Assuming that I'm living within the means by which he has laid out for us to live. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
I think that's
so I can't argue with where I am right now.
Yeah. So then I think the proper terminology is contentment, which contentment means it's a deep term. To be content means not that everything's good, but that you are okay even with the bad.
Correct.
Like, you're okay even with your non-ideal situation. Like, you're able to find joy in life, even though life is not made up exactly how you thought it would be made up at this age. Because I think that's what people do.
I never thought I would be this age and single.
I had a girl hit me up.
Never.
On our page, and she said, "Can you do a podcast about being overweight and single?" And because she's like, our culture hammers down on what beautiful is a lot. So it's really hard for me to see myself as beautiful because I don't see it anywhere. And it was a tough conversation because I'm like, I get it. Our culture is not the type of, there are cultures that fully prefer nice, round, voluptuous people more than little, whatever. Our culture in the 90s was all about boobs. Skinny chicks, big boobs, right?
Yeah.
Then hip hop took over and it became all about the butt. Now there's on Instagram, it will be hard for me to find a white girl. And I only say white because this is how much influence our culture has taken into, where it's going towards now. It will be hard pressed to find a white girl with no butt that ever takes pictures from behind. It doesn't happen. They're all working on their butt. They all want a big butt. And when they achieve that butt, that's when you'll see the backside of them. Other than that, you're only seeing the front or a very doctored angle picture that makes it seem like they have a butt, because our culture now is all about the booty. And
maybe that's why I'm so confident these days.
Hey,
it finally caught up to me.
If the booties, you waited culture enough and it caught up. And I told her, I was like, I understand, but there is someone for everyone. So if you marry your life to the culture that you are in, then you're going to have to play by its rules, the good and the bad. You're going to have to do what the culture says to do to get who you want or where you want. And then you're going to have to deal with the other side of it, that if you don't get what you want, then it's because you didn't play by the culture's rules. So you either subject yourself to that.
So is, okay, are you happy being overweight?
Right.
Like, if you are like, I am the finest human being on earth at this weight, then you live your life that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but if there's an insecurity in you about your weight, then that's the internal work you have to do.
Yeah.
I had to do a ton of internal work. It didn't have anything to do with the shape. Well, some of it had to do with the shape of my body, but I'm just saying mine was more, it's like, whether single or in a relationship, I think you should constantly be refining who the Lord created you to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that includes being the best version of yourself that you can muster.
Right.
And if that means dropping 2 to 5 pounds, then for your own self, not for anybody else. Because the one thing I know, and kind of like what you were saying about the earrings and the sideburns, is like, you can't be doing this junk for somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, that's just no way to live. I mean,
I agree.
I lived it and I did it, and it's exhausting.
Yeah.
And it's not worth it, because you're never really going to be good enough for anybody. Even the person who loves you the best, you're not going to be like their like perfect Adonis.
And it's so funny because there's no way. I always laugh about it, because I'm like, I'm fully okay with the understanding. Like, if my wife says, "Oh, that guy's hot," I'm like, yeah, he is hot. Like, I know I'm not the hottest guy in the world. I can't be. There's always somebody hotter than me. There's always somebody hotter.
Somebody's got something that you don't have.
It's always going to be a thing. But if you succumb to that, then that's one thing that I realized. Cause I remember, I don't know if I ever said this on the podcast, but I remember when I was about to get married, I was the type of guy that we had to date for like a year before I really felt like, okay, we're boyfriend and girlfriend. Like that we're really in this, cause that whole year you're just learning whether or not, can we do this? Can we go the long haul? Cause I was always really more so like, I was the type of person, I didn't do one night stands well. I just wasn't that kind of guy. I can only connect to people that I really, really, really cared about. And so in understanding that about myself, when I first got married with Ange, I was like, or when I first started dating her, it scared me that I didn't see an end. Typically when I approached something or I got into something, I would see red flags and I would be like, oh, this is why we're going to break up. Or this is why this isn't going to work. This red flag. I'm going to try to move past it, to push through it. But this is probably why it's not going to work. And 9 times out of 10, it's why we didn't work. Then with Ange, I didn't really see those things, right? So I got kind of freaked out. And I was like, oh my God, there's no ending.
Remember.
Yeah, the only ending that I saw, and this is me telling on myself, the only ending that I saw was the opportunity to no longer have the first kiss, to be able to explore, to meet more women, to meet more pretty people, Like I was literally like, oh my God, I'm handing all that over. And I had to wrestle with that for a good week. Because I was like, do I really want to do that? Like, do I really want to whatever? And I came to this understanding that I've spent my 30-year plus chasing that thing, that ideal. This, that, shape, sizes, color, this. It didn't matter. My girlfriend before Ange was a freaking Laker girl. You know what I'm saying? So she was the girl that when I walked in, everybody looked at her and was like, oh, he must be rich because that's why he has a girl like that. So I've had every type of girl. And at the end of it, still didn't really find full happiness. And so what I understood is this way of living, of always looking for the next best thing, or picking apart the thing that you do have, thinking that you have something better out there, I realized was a fool's errand. I would be chasing that thing for the rest of my life. Because what I'm going to recognize is not only is the people that I find not going to be perfect, but I am not perfect. I'm 40 years old right now, and I am fighting to keep my belly flat. I am fighting to just remain some type of symbol of my yesteryear. And I'm like, this is hard. You know, I have grays all over my face. My hair has gray. I'm like, I'm aging. And it's funny that we never look at ourselves through real eyes when we're in this type of mentality, because we actually think that there's something better for us, as if we are perfect and that better is out there because what I am with is not perfect. I deserve and can get better, not realizing that we are not the better. And I remember one time I told Ange, I was like, babe, God forbid you ever pass, or, you know, we're not together, because that would be the way that you'd have to pass and we're not together and I'm out there in the single way again. I told her, I was like, babe, I think I'd be interested in dating older. I kind of like the idea of a cougar, you know, and she's like, babe, you're 40 years old. You are the cougar. I was like, oh shit, you're right. Because older than me would mean I'd be messing with like 50 and 60-year-old people. Like, I'm the old guy now. Oh my God, I'm the cougar. I'm the one that young people are like, he's kind of old. And I just didn't.
He's a silver fox. That's what's going to happen.
Total silver fox. And I was like, oh man, it totally changed my idea of like, okay, my options now, or my goal now, is not to find the perfect in me or in someone else. Now I think my ultimate goal, and I think it's so simplistic, is to fight through all the realness that's going to happen in my life. All the days where you want to get up and just be somewhere else. Be with someone else. Explore something else. But end up that 70-year-old couple still holding hands, still walking down the beach, still getting in your little car for a drive, still just really close, in love, best friends. Mm-hmm. And there's something about that picture that brings me back to like, that's a true accomplishment. That's a really good goal. Not a perfect goal, because I think there's going to be a lot of bumps and bruises on the way. But if you can maintain that connection, I think that's a freaking awesome place to be. That's the romantic in me.
Well, and that's when, you know, when you realize that that person that you've chosen, and you're never going to be perfect. I think that's when you can sort of like gracefully accept those bumps that come.
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, it's like they say that this is a really bad example, but, you know, if you're drunk and you like have an accident, you're less likely to be hurt because your body's like limp. Yeah. Like I had a friend that fell off of a balcony once and he was fine because he was completely smashed. Like, whereas if somebody who was, you know, had fallen off, they would have broken like every bone in their body or whatever. Yeah. And it's like, you kind of have to go through marriage a little drunk.
Yeah.
Like just a little like.
That makes sense.
A little loose, you know? I mean, my folks just celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary last Sunday.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, I know their story and I know the things that they've been through, but what they did was they decided to choose each other's imperfections for every day for 50 years. I mean, that's a decision that gets made.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not happenstance, you know, like that's a decision on both parties.
Yeah.
And I dare say that had I gotten married at 30, I'm not sure that I would have been able to have even made it 2 or 3 years. Like I know myself well enough now to know that should I ever get married, and I really hope I do. Hey, fellas, put my number down at the bottom.
I will.
Should I ever get married, I feel like I would be bringing a much better version of myself to the table than I ever would have before.
Sure.
And that's not even to say I'm halfway where I need to be, because I probably will never be where I really need to be, but I'm trying.
Yeah.
And I'm trying for myself and not for everybody else.
Yeah.
You know, because I have to live with me.
Yeah.
Because for so long, I didn't even like myself. So how am I going to expect somebody else to?
Sure.
You know?
That makes perfect sense.
Ludicrous.
Which is interesting because I think somebody needs to hear that in the back. Like, if you do not like yourself, how can you expect to be in a functional relationship with somebody that is attempting to like something that you don't? And I think that relationship, when I was talking about the insecure girl, she didn't like a lot of things about her that I liked. You know, she didn't like her little pot belly, and she was athletic, toned, but she just had this little pot belly. And I'm like, hey, I like how that pot belly looks because it matches your butt. You know, I'm like, it's like a perfect symmetry going on there when you stand sideways. I'm
front
like,
and back.
Yeah, I'm like, ooh, and you know, I'm like, I like it. But everything that I liked, she didn't like about herself. And I'm like, how can I love this person? How? It's
There's
impossible.
no amount of validation that will ever.
Yeah. It was like it was like an empty hole. I couldn't tell her enough that I loved her, that she was beautiful. And that was the saddest
And I
part.
feel like I push that on guys too. And if you're listening, guys, I'm sorry. You know, because it's like I was just expecting, I think that I was expecting that there was going to be that one compliment that I got that was going to fix it all. You know, or that one guy that was like the hottest guy in the room would like me back and it would fix everything. And it's like, you don't know until you know that that's not how it's going to go.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, I think I'm pretty cool, and I feel like the Lord has given me a lot of incredible attributes that I embrace now that I didn't before. And, you know, I'm just not going to fight it. It's just, I'm going to keep looking and trying, and I'm dating, and it's hilarious. And I mean,
are you dating now?
If you haven't dated, Are
you dating someone now?
No, I mean, I've been going out with people, like just different people, and it is an absolute hoot. Because honestly, what you were saying, you know, it's like you sit down with somebody and the first thing you do is pick out everything you don't like about them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then as if you are like the goddess of all goddesses sitting here, like, and that, I mean, that's just the part where you have to kind of like go, this is the stupidest thing ever, because, you know, you just have to have that balance of like confidence and also like reality, you know? But anyway, and so it's like what you have to do is, or for me, what I'm having to do is give it more than one shot.
Interesting.
It's like one dinner might not be the greatest thing ever, but you know, 2 or 3 in, it's like they turn out to be, because I would want somebody to give me more than one shot.
Yeah. I mean, my first shot with Ange was whack. We had lunch. We had lunch with our friends, and she did not seem interested. And the beginning of our first date was whack too. She did not seem interested, and I was gonna bounce. I was literally gonna bounce and fake a stomach ache and be like, I'm out in the middle of our date, because I was like, ugh, I do not like that I'm paying for somebody else's mistake right now, because she is being really cold to me. And I just gave her a little bit longer, and she finally warmed up. But that's interesting, because I remember we did a dating pod with Elise back in season 1. We had a dating thing, and when they were looking at guys on the apps, it was so funny how quickly they dismiss certain people off of not being able to write a good bio that's not dissing. I'm not dissing. Even in that moment, we weren't dissing Bobise for doing it. It was just, we all were doing it. We were all like, yes, no. And I'm like, you guys, we're literally making decisions on whether or not somebody is worth our time or love based on their ability to write a bio or pick the right picture to put in their bio. I'm like, this is so bad, but this is now the world that we live in.
10 seconds or less. It's a 10-second or less decision.
Really?
Okay, let's say that there's 400 people on Bumble in my area. Let's just say there aren't that many. I probably swipe right on 3.
Is that good?
No.
Wait, that's 3 out of 400. So you say no to 397 of them. Sheesh.
Based off of a split-second decision. And they're doing the same thing to me. You know?
Yeah. Oh my God.
So dating in your adulthood, that's like, there's that meme or joke or whatever. It's like, if you ever are thinking about getting a divorce, both of y'all download a dating app and sit together on the couch and realize how happy you are to be together.
Oh my God, that's such a good idea.
Oh, you have no idea. You would be like, honey, you're the greatest thing that's ever happened in life.
I'd be so afraid to be single. I would be so afraid to be single. I have nothing but like nightmares that not even, I mean, obviously as a dude, you know, being single is like, yeah, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to kill it. But then I think about where technology is at and I'm like, I would be utterly afraid to write the wrong text message, to send the wrong picture, to engage in any type of whatever. Like, I'm literally like, where the world is at right now, it is a scary, all of you single people, if you're still listening, kudos to you for bearing and braving the weather of dating right now. Cause there's no way I can say that it's easier than when we were doing it back when we were, you know, in our 20s. It's so much harder. I mean, anyone can be shamed. Anyone can be like ridiculed. I mean, it takes one mad person to post text messages. I'm looking at what's going on with Iggy and Playboy Cardi right now. And she's just putting all their text messages out there. And I'm like, there is nothing fair in love and war. And I'm like, imagine this happening. And someone can ruin your life in 2.5 seconds. I'm like, I would never want to do anything. I don't know. It would be so scary. And of course, I think I'm looking at it from a different place because I have a minuscule type of a platform. So I may not be the normal person who has 200 followers on Instagram and nobody's going to care. But you have a blue check mark. But I have a blue check mark, so I'm thinking of all these things, right? That's what makes me scared. But to other people, it's still a scary idea of braving the competition. Because now it's not like you're competing against the people in the room like we did back when we were young, where it's like, who's the hottest guy here? Okay, that's who I'm competing against. Now you're like competing against the world. Everyone on this damn app.
Since COVID, they on Bumble have allowed us to match with the entire country, not just 100-mile radius.
Oh, wow.
They opened up the entire country to us.
Wow.
Yay.
Dang, I guess because this is how people are having dates now, right? Like what we're doing an online date.
This is not my kind of, I don't need half the stuff that these guys say to me.
Oh my God.
And I mean, that's the thing about me is I'll be like, delete. But like, don't give anybody your Snapchat name. Don't you do it.
Really?
You'll get some stuff that you didn't want to see.
It's like that?
It's horrid.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, on what planet do girls want to no? And then you find out some of them are married and like, I mean, it's a whole thing. The whole freaking country though. Thanks, Bumble. As if it weren't hard enough.
Man, well, I freaking love you. I think I can't wait to get the call, which hopefully I get.
You'll get an invitation.
I would hope
I didn't get one to yours, but it's cool.
Really wasn't my fault. I was limited because my wife had.
I'm just kidding.
100. I'm not even kidding. We had 200 people at our wedding, and she had 180 something of them. That's how big her family.
To be true, I probably would not have made the trip, but.
But the invite it's worth the invite.
You know, it would have hit good.
Yeah. No, I wanted it to be so small. I wanted my wedding to be like 25 people. Cause I'm like, babe, come on.
That's where I'm at.
Let's just keep it to people that are going to be in our lives for real. Like, I don't want to
if I get married, there will be like 50 people there. I'll make sure that you and Ange are on the list.
Nice. I'll come to Starkville, Mississippi.
I'm putting it out there.
I will go to Mississippi. I would love
Will you come to Mississippi?
100%.
For my wedding?
Yes.
It'll happen. It will happen. One day I may be 50 years old and I'm fine with that.
Oh my God. That would be
I'm just going to keep rolling. I just put a contract in on a house and I'm just going.
Did you really?
I did.
Wait, where are you at right now? Because I'm liking the design. That's kind of like how I'm gonna do my house.
This is my rental house.
Oh, do you see how they do now? That's the new style right now, where you see the island is a different color than the rest of the cabinets.
My dad built this for me.
Is that black or is that blue?
It's navy blue.
Yep.
It's on casters. It rolls.
Yep, that's the new style.
I'll take it to the new house.
That's the new style that I'm doing in my house. Different color island and maybe wood on top. That's wood on top, right?
Well, it is, but then we put stainless steel on it because of the baking stuff. It's just there's a stainless steel like thing on top of it. Yeah. My new countertops in my new house are concrete.
I was thinking of that too, concrete. Wait, where's the house that you're?
It's just like a mile away from here. It's in like an old neighborhood. It was built in like 1954. It's like a ranch style home that the people who live there now have kind of redone, but it has a chicken coop in the back.
No way.
Maybe I'm going to raise my own eggs. I don't know.
Oh, you should.
If my dog will let me.
That's so cool.
She may terrorize them.
So this is going to be house number 2.
Yeah, I'm excited.
This will be your second house.
Yeah. That good old Nashville house.
I love it. That's so congratulations.
That was a fun house.
Congratulations.
But yeah, I mean, I'm just going to keep doing me. Like I think the important thing for anybody who's maybe where I am in life is, first of all, just keep working on your own self for your own self.
Yeah.
And, realize your worth, because we've all got worth. There is not one human being on this earth that wasn't created for a purpose. Not one.
Yeah.
And just keep doing the things you like to do. And I mean, my last breakup, the guy that I was telling y'all about that I thought I was going to marry, like, had it not been for him, I never would have started baking. And I did it because I needed an outlet. I needed to find some way to like occupy my weekends that I wasn't spending with him. And here we are. I have an extremely successful business.
Yeah.
That I never would have found otherwise. And so, like I said, the divine providence of the Lord is
Won't
real.
he do it? Won't he do it? Yes, he will.
And he will continue to do it.
Yes, he will. I love it. Well, listen, thank you for taking time out and talking with me. I absolutely loved it. I'm praying that this, if you're single out there and you want to hit up Krystal, ask some questions. If you're a female and want to know how she's getting by, I'll have her Instagram handle down in the description so you can contact her. She's extremely kind. And if you're a male and you have if you have the right intentions, please.
You're going to vet them all. I'm going to make them all come through you.
I will 1000% vet them. So there's no bullshit that I will not detect. So either way, we're throwing it up there to the beautiful Lord and praying that he sends down some beauty. Thank you so much. And I'm going to end this like I always. I love you more. We pray that you find a seat at the table, but if you don't, you are always welcome at ours. Love you guys.